It's back into it in Chester. Here's Olsen. Yes! Yes!
The center back, Jacob Glesnes.
He's going for it.
Yes! Oh my goal! What a goal!
And that will do it! One of the best comebacks in recent years. 3 unanswered by the Union. And they go into the Gold Cup break, winning it 3-2.
Hello and welcome to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd, and your Philadelphia Union are headed to the MLS Cup Final this Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to take on LAFC. And for all of you people out there that follow this team from the very beginning, do you guys think that you would have seen the day that your Philadelphia Union would be in the MLS Cup Final? I mean, it is so hard to imagine, I am sure, for you guys that have seen the darkest of darkest days for this team, and for people like me that came aboard the Union train and started paying attention to the Union towards the tail end of the 2017 season, where, yeah, the Union are starting to come out of those dark days. It's better than what it was at the beginning, but it's still not great. And then you fast forward to 2019, when it's Ernst Tanner's first official year, and you see year after year the progress that this club has made, where they win their first playoff game, they win 2 playoff games, they win the Eastern Conference Final, now they play an MLS Cup. It's so unimaginable for you guys, I am sure. And for you people that maybe this is your first season or you just recently started getting into the Union, this seems like this is just a normal for you guys, but it is not that. And the scenes Sunday night in Subaru Park, to hear how loud it was way before this match started, 40 minutes before kickoff. Fans are already in their seats, they're making noises, they're cheering, and we don't typically have that during the regular season. And what that reminded me of was the Eastern Conference Finals last year against New York City, where it was a packed house way before the whistle. People are cheering the players on during warm-ups, doing chants. And we had that again on Sunday night. And I was maybe under the belief last year when that happened, okay, well, people know that 11 players are missing because of COVID. And so the fans want to get there and let the players know that they're behind them. But maybe it's just an Eastern Conference thing. Maybe it's a conference final thing where fans feel like they got to get there super early to cheer on the team. But regardless, what a night it was Sunday. And we're going to talk all about that game. I'll play you guys some clips from Jim Curtin's press conference. I'll play you guys some interviews from the locker room after the game. And we have a lot of news to get to. And so I'll try not to keep this episode too long. And so, with that said, let's just get straight into the news. All right, so let's go from shortest to the longest. And we'll try to keep this news segment within 10 minutes. So let's see how I do. You guys go ahead and keep track. So let's go ahead and talk about the first bit of news, and that is Ben Olsen is set to be announced as the new Houston Dynamo coach. That is courtesy of Pablo Maurer from The Athletic. And this is a shocker to a lot of MLS fans, is a shocker to me. And when you say Ben Olsen, you think of the poster boy of DC United. At least I do, because you think of Ben's time as a player at DC, you think of his time as a coach, and then after he got fired, let go of, he still took up a role inside the DC United organization. And so to see Ben coaching another team in MLS is going to feel super weird. The last couple seasons in DC did not go as planned, wasn't as successful as we'd seen the Ben Olsen era at the beginning of the time. And so to see Pat Onstead, the GM of Houston Dynamo, go out and fire Paulo Nagamar, not even within a year of them hiring him, I didn't agree with that decision. And we've seen a lot of poorly ran organizations in MLS. And I would put Houston Dynamo the last couple seasons as one of the worst in the league. I know Dynamo fans, when I was on a Dynamo podcast in the middle of the summer, they were pretty upset with the way that the club was being ran the last couple seasons. They wanted encouragement from a union point of view why giving Paulo is the right move. A lot of people in that fan base weren't overly excited about his appointment. And obviously that spoke to the front office where they don't even give him a year and they fire him. Again, you see it all the time in sports where when you're not living up to success, you get fired. And constantly changing managers, I don't think that's a recipe for success. And so I would love to know why Houston Dynamo believe that Ben Olsen's a better hire than Paulo Nagamar, where, again, what happened towards the end of Ben's tenure in DC was not great for that fan base. And they haven't looked like typical DC United for the last couple of seasons. And who knows if Wayne Rooney is going to get that franchise on track in the 2023 season. That's a conversation for another day. But again, Ben Olsen to be announced as Houston Dynamo's coach. That is according to Pablo Maurer. The next bit of news I want to talk about is, since we're talking about former DC United manager Ben Olsen, let's keep it in-house and talk about DC United. With DC United being fined $25,000 by MLS for failing to comply with the diversity hiring policy when hiring Wayne Rooney. And MLS has in place, they require MLS clubs to have a finalist pool that includes 2+ candidates from underrepresented groups. 1+ must be Black. DC United met with 2 qualifying candidates, but 1 pulled out, and DC never interviewed another. And so they get fined $25,000 for not complying with MLS's rules. And MLS found that the claims that Taxi Fountas used racially abusive language in the Inter Miami DC United game, they found those claims to be credible. MLS found Fountas' defense not credible, where Taxi said that he didn't say anything at all, but it isn't punishing Taxi because it couldn't independently confirm what exactly was said. And so the whole situation's messy, where, to Taxi's credit, I guess, he participated in the investigation, didn't give MLS any hard times with all the questions that were asked. After this happened, Taxi Fountas left DC United, went back to Greece, and stayed away from the organization while MLS looked over these claims. And so MLS comes out and finds that, okay, something was definitely said, and he probably said something racial, but we can't prove exactly what he said. And so because they can't prove that, Taxi isn't suspended for the 2023 season. He's able to come back. But, you know, how will Taxi be welcomed back by DC United supporters, by other MLS supporters? I don't know. The whole organization's a mess. And I was talking about Houston being one of the worst ran franchises in MLS. DC United probably takes that cake, where they've been a dumpster fire, even, like I said, even before the end of Ben Olsen's coaching career in DC. I mean, that's just a franchise that's in disarray. And we could spend a whole episode talking about why DC United's a poorly ran organization, but we're just not going to do that for this episode. But let's go ahead and stick with the news and switch it back to just overall MLS news, which is Olsen FC qualifying for the 2023 CONCACAF Champions League. The other 4 MLS clubs that qualify are LAFC, Philadelphia Union, Orlando City, and the Vancouver Whitecaps. And so, yeah, even though Olsen lost to LAFC because the Union defeated New York City, Olsen FC gets to participate in the CONCACAF Champions League for the very first time. We'll see how they do. Orlando City, We'll see how they do too. LAFC and Philadelphia Union, you feel confident that they'll represent MLS well in CONCACAF Champions League, but everybody else, probably not. And let's just stay with MLS news for the remainder of this episode. We're recording this podcast on Tuesday afternoon, and MLS just announced that, yes, no surprise, Hany Muhktar is the league MVP, followed by Sebastian Jersey of Olsen and Andre Blake coming in third. Hany Muhktar had overall votes of 48.03%, while you have 16.8% of those votes going to Sebastian Jersey and 7.8 of those votes going to Andre Blake. And to nobody's surprise, and I told you guys a while ago that my vote for MVP was Hany Muhktar. Incredible player this season for Nashville. He's been incredible ever since he's been in MLS. I mean, you guys are probably sick and tired of hearing me talk about Hany Muhktar on this podcast because of how often I feel like I talk about him. So we won't talk about him anymore, I promise, until we find a reason to talk about him. But Andre Blake finishing in third. Daniel Gazdag should have been on that list. But to see a Union player represented in the final three, it feels good. Definitely feel like Daniel Gazdag should have been in there. Could have had two Union players in the final three potentially, but Daniel Gazdag doesn't make it in the final three, let alone the final five. And I think if you ask Daniel Gazdag or Andre Blake, yeah, neither one of them are going to say we care about winning, not winning the MVP. We would much rather be in the final of MLS, and that's exactly what the Union are. So I think in our grand scheme of things, yeah, the players at first probably cared, it probably hurt a little bit, but at the end of the day, they're playing in a final, and Hany Muhktar would love to have played in MLS Cup final. Sebastian Jersey would love to have been there, and neither one of those players are. The league's Golden Boot winner, the league's MVP, won't take part in the 2022 MLS Cup final. And the last two bits of news are going to focus on Inter Miami. So the first I'll talk about is Inter Miami. They are finalizing a deal to pick up the purchase option on Leo Campana from Wolverhampton. The fee is around $2.7 million. Campana is 22 years old. He had 11 goals, 2 assists, and 1,600 minutes on his loan this year with Inter Miami. The Ecuadorian international is likely to be a young DP signing next year for Inter Miami, but what a signing he is. And you look at Julian Carranza, didn't get the opportunities that Campana got. And Inter Miami have finally have figured out how to scout a striker and actually get that striker playing in the system they want to play. They did a good job scouting and identifying Julian Carranza, but they had no idea how to work him into the starting 11. And for Inter Miami's failure, it becomes a huge success for the Philadelphia Union. So nice to see Inter Miami able to keep young talent in the league. And you guys might not be a fan of this as Philadelphia Union fans, but as a fan of MLS as a whole, you love to see the league get younger. You love to see good young talent stay in MLS and continue to develop their skills and then eventually get sold to Europe or get sold back to Europe, which would be the case with Leo Campana. And then the last bit of news I want to talk about is, this is the big one, and I'll try not to talk too much about this subject. Again, maybe this could be a podcast episode in itself. I mean, I know a lot of people have already talked about this. There's already episodes out there where it's nothing but this topic, but Inter Miami is increasingly confident of signing Lionel Messi. Not fully agreed, but Inter Miami now expect the 35-year-old to join and hope it gets done in the coming months. Talks resume after the World Cup. P Money Sign G still want to renew him, and Barcelona will try and come back and sign Messi back up. And that is courtesy of David Ornstead from The Athletic. And we've seen Messi rumors, I feel like, the last couple years in Miami, but you really, really, really feel like it's going to happen this time, especially when somebody like David Weinstein is announcing that it's getting ever so close. Apparently, Messi's camp and Inter Miami have been talking for a couple years now, and now he feels that it's the right opportunity, the right time to join Inter Miami. And this is going to do wonders for MLS as a whole. This is bigger than the David Beckham signing, yes. This is going to do things that we never thought was imaginable with MLS. You're going to have so many fans coming out to Inter Miami games, fans that are not fans of Inter Miami, but fans of Lionel Messi. You're going to have, wherever Miami play, you're going to have fans go out to those games just to see Messi. I think we're going to see an increase of police, of security at games every time Messi's in the building, just because of who he is. You're probably going to see pitch invasions, I feel like, because it's Messi. People idolize Messi. And this is the perfect signing if you're Apple TV. You're going to have so many more signups now for the app because people want to watch Messi. People weren't watching Ligue 1 prior to Messi signing there. And you have Messi playing at P Money Sign G. People now became fans of P Money Sign G. Now they want to watch them every single weekend. Not because of Mbappe, not because of Neymar, because of Messi. And it's the same thing with Ronaldo. You have his fanboys following whichever club he goes to. They all go out and buy his jersey. And the same thing is going to happen here with Inter Miami. And MLS is not ready for this kind of signing. That they're not going to be ready for this kind of signing. But this is a signing that they welcome. And I think as fans, we welcome the signing because I don't think you can confidently say, yeah, we don't want a player like Messi in this league. I mean, he's one of the world's best players ever. And if you have an opportunity to welcome him to your league, to have him play in your league, let it be for 6 months, a year. Who knows how long he'll sign for Inter Miami. But I think his signing is going to do wonders. It's going to bring so many eyes, so much attention to MLS. And I think Messi will continue to help MLS grow. And we'll see what that signing does. But I think it's going to do things that we never thought were imaginable for MLS. But let's go ahead and talk about the Philadelphia Union versus New York City game. And you go ahead and look. Both teams early in this match, and they both tested each other's aerial defending with long balls over the top. Within the first 7 minutes, you had the Union attempt 5 long balls, only completing 1 of them. You had New York City complete 2 out of 4 of their long balls. And the first shot of the match actually fell to the Union, courtesy of Kai Wagner in the 13th minute, as he attempted a low-driven shot from way outside the 18, which was saved by Sean Johnson, who wasn't tested too much. Comfortable save for Sean. Easy enough, and you expect him to make that save. He makes that save, and then 3 minutes later, the Union thought that they had the opener thanks to Daniel Gazdag, courtesy of a Kai Wagner corner, but the goal was ruled for offsides. New York City would get their first shot a few minutes later thanks to Alexander Collins. He had a shot from way outside the 18, which was off target, but nonetheless, it took 18 minutes in this game for New York City to finally find a way to break down the Union's defense and get a shot. Was not on target, but it was something to keep the defense aware of. Like, look, we're gonna test you guys outside. If you're not gonna give us shots inside, we're gonna see if Andre Blake's ready for these shots outside of the box. And yeah, the shot, like I said, was not on target, but it gave the Union something to think about. And just throughout the whole first half, neither goalkeeper was really tested. Neither goalkeeper were in trouble. And the first half also saw 17 total fouls called, with 12 of those called against the Union and 5 against New York City. And I went down, talked to fans during halftime just to get their thoughts on how they thought the half went. And people, first thing they said was, oh, Alan Chapman killed momentum. He killed the first half with all the fouls he called in this game. Too many fouls were called against the Union. And yeah, I mean, there were a lot of fouls called, but I think fans want to compare what Tim Ford did 2 weeks ago in the Cincinnati game to what Alan Chapman did in the New York City game. And I think Alan Chapman had a better understanding, a better control on the game than Tim Ford did. Yeah, I think 17 fouls is a little bit too much to be called, but, things weren't getting carried away, in my opinion. Alan Chapman was just saying, hey, look, I'm going to let you foul, but there's going to be a threshold where I'm not going to let you get away with these type of fouls. And I think that's all it was with the fouls. And some fans that I talked to were like, oh, no, this was horrible. This was one of the worst ref halves I ever seen. I didn't see that way. Maybe you guys did, but not me. And I even thought that the Union were the better team in the first half. And even Jim Curtin mentioned that on the Fox broadcast at halftime. I thought it was clear and obvious that the Union's plan was in the first half, okay, let's go ahead and go at their center backs. The Union were going to have a whole bunch of 1v1 opportunities with their forwards. And so that's why the Union were going to play those long balls over the top to let their forwards run into the ball, to stretch their defenders, to get them as tired as possible, because eventually you're going to bring Corey Burke into this game, and Corey Burke is going to go at tired legs. And so, yes, because the Union weren't getting to those long balls in the first half, fans were definitely getting frustrated. They're like, why are you playing this long ball? Keep it on the ground, go through the middle. But the opportunities were there to play the long balls over the top. It was just a matter of time before the Union were the ones getting to those balls over the top and not the New York City defenders. And we did see that in the second half, too, where Mikael Uhre and Julian Carranza combined a couple of times from the long balls. New York City couldn't keep up with those two strikers, and yeah, some of those balls were played a little bit too wide, and so that's why New York City were able to recover. But we did see the New York City players getting tired because of this tactic. And because of that, Corey Burke was able to come into this game and make a huge impact, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. And like I said, we saw in the first half, New York City, they were also playing long balls to their wingbacks. And the Union did a really good job, I thought, of shutting down their wingbacks. They didn't let them progress too much to whipping crosses. The Union did a good job keeping Maxi Morales contained in the first half. They kept him under 40 touches. And all of his touches were away from the goal, which is exactly what you want to do when you come up against a good playmaking number 10. You want him to not be dominant and going towards the goal. You want him to have to come and collect the ball. And most of his touches were closer to the halfway line than they were to the 18. That was a huge win for the Union, I thought, in the first half. And I was thinking, okay, what do I want to ask Jim Curtin about after this game? And that was going to be my question to him, is just the job they did on Maxi Morales in the first half. But then you see the second half where New York City decided, all right, the long balls aren't working. We're not progressing with our wingbacks against the Union's defenders. And so they started getting their playmaker, Maxi Morales, on the ball. They let him dictate the game. And you saw exactly that on the opening goal for New York City. Maxi found space. Jose stepped up, didn't win the ball. He lost out on his guy, didn't track back, and Santi Rodriguez is smart enough just to lay the ball off. See that nobody's marking Maxi Morales, and terrific finish from Maxi Morales. There's nothing you can say about that, and we'll break down the goals here in a bit, exactly what happened on all four plays. But yeah, Maxi Morales is a wonderful player. Completely changed from the first half to the second half, and luckily, fortunately, the Union were only hurt by him once, but it was the opening goal of the match. 3 minutes after New York City scored the goal, we saw Andre Blake come up with a huge save on Alexander Collins, and Jim Curtin called it after the game the play of the game. And it's exactly that. If New York City go up 2-0, I think the Union are done. And a lot of fans might not want to admit that, but 1-0, yeah, you can fight your way back. And Andre Blake even said that, yeah, I didn't think one goal was going to beat us. I knew that we were going to score goals, and one goal was all New York City was going to get. But if they would have went up 2-0, now the Union are going to have to start playing more aggressive. They're going to have to push more bodies forward, because I don't know if you guys noticed this too. Kai Wagner and Olivier Bizot did not go as forward in this game as we've seen them go all season long. The Union kept them back because they knew with the formation that New York City was playing, Jim Curtin said this in his midweek press conference last week. Yes, they're going to play Maxi as a 10 if he plays, but they're also going to use Pereira and Santi Rodriguez at times as 10s. They're both going to float into the middle where they're playing with one striker, and then they'll have two 10s trying to dictate the play while they push the wingbacks up forward. And because of that, Kai Wagner and Olivier Bizot had to stay back and defend a lot. And to Bizot's credit, he was phenomenal defensively on the night. Same with Kai Wagner. Yeah, we give those guys a lot of credit for what they do offensively, but defensively, I thought they were 1 point all night long. And it was only until New York City decided, let's go through the middle. Let's use the numbers we have in the middle and go at this Union team. Let Maxi Morales dictate the flow of play. And because of one mistake of not tracking your run, and that's why it's so important with this team where every single player needs to do their job on the Union, because if one person's not doing it, then this team crumbles. Because Jose Martinez didn't track back, New York City were able to bite. And luckily, the Union had that huge save from Andre Blake, because if it wasn't for that, the Union lose this game, in my opinion. And there was a debate, I don't know if you guys saw this on Twitter a week ago, where somebody asked, if you're building a team and you can have two superstars in any position while the rest of the team is average, what two positions would you upgrade? And me, myself, I said, you need to have a superstar number 10, a superstar number 6, a defensive midfielder that can control the flow of play, but can also protect that back line. And then I said you need to have a superstar goalkeeper, because I can remember in just all these years that David De Gea saved so many points for Manchester United, got Manchester United in the Champions League, where they did not deserve to be in the Champions League at all. But if it wasn't for De Gea saving 9, 11, 12 points for Manchester United, they would be playing in the Europa League, maybe not even playing in the Europa League at all. But because he's a good shot stopper, you had a world-class goalkeeper, he keeps you in the match. We saw with that big save Andre Blake made, he kept them in the match. I can remember Liverpool when Brendan Rodgers was coaching that team, where they had a superstar attack. But what didn't they have? They didn't have a good defense. They didn't have good goalkeeping from Mignolet. And they didn't have a world-class number 6. And when the middle of your field is the weakest part of your team, when the spine of your team has to be the middle of the field. If I'm a coach, I'm starting with the spine. Your center backs, your center defensive mid, and your goalkeeper. That's what's going to keep your team in it, the spine. And because Liverpool didn't have good center backs, a good defensive midfielder, and a good goalkeeper, they lose out on the title. Even though they're beating teams 4-3, 5-4, they're conceding way too many goals because they're weak in the spine of the team. And so that's why I said goalkeeping and a number 6 is where I would build my team if I'm a coach, while everybody else can be average. Yeah, a lot of fans are saying they want to have a world-class striker, which I can agree with. You want a player that's going to finish every chance that you create. But for me, you've got to be solid defensively. And that's what the Union have been all season long. That's what they've been ever since Ernst Tanner took over as the sporting director, and the Union have thrived off of a successful defense. And I don't know about you guys. Maybe you guys don't agree with me, but that's what I would do. And then I would say, like, we're saying 1A, the Andre Blake save was the game-changing play of this game. You've got to say 1B, Corey Burke completely changed this game. And this is what Jim Curtin had to say about Corey Burke's performance on the night.
Corey changed the game, and he was possessed. It's the best way I could put it. He came into the game possessed. He came into the game wanting to take it over, and it played in a way that I wouldn't be surprised if the doping people are here to test him, because he was that intense and crazy on the field today. It was great.
Yeah, you did. And spoiler alert, Corey Burke's going to be one of my 3 stars on the night. But all of us in the press box, we all didn't agree with taking Mikael Uhre off the field and putting on Corey Burke when that happened. And I think that just goes to show that I guess that's why none of us are coaches, because Jim Curtin knew exactly what buttons to push. And when Corey Burke came onto the field, he went at tired legs. He was super physical and made it uncomfortable for that back line of New York City. And look, when I'm wrong, I'll admit that I was wrong. And you guys have heard me so many times in the past complain about Corey Burke being, oh, Corey Burke this, Burke that. Corey Burke's the worst Union player, blah, 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 blah. But Corey Burke, the last month and a half, has been phenomenal for the Union. And I'm proud to say that I was wrong. He was wonderful against New York City. 4 goals in 8 career games now against New York City, if you guys were counting at home. And to see him come on make such a huge difference like he did, change the game, you got to give him credit. And he deserves to be on this roster. You see why Ernst Tanner decided to give Corey Burke a contract a few seasons ago. And yeah, Corey Burke does have a place on this team. And it might not be as a starter, but it is definitely going out there, roughing up players, and going at tired legs. Kind of like Sergio Santos was. And when you're paying a guy way less money than what you were paying Sergio Santos, then you're going to go ahead and go with a cheaper option that can do the same job. And Corey Burke was just phenomenal. And I'm sure a lot of you guys feel the same way about Corey too. And Jim's right. He looked possessed. As soon as he stepped out onto that field, you knew chaos was going to happen. You knew something was going to change. And that's exactly what Corey Burke brought on the night. Another moment I want to bring up is in the 80th minute, the press from Liam Flock on Sean Johnson, which almost resulted in a goal for the Union. It was a bad pass from Thiago Martins of New York City to Sean Johnson. And you had Liam Flock just pressing him and almost getting his foot to the ball, putting it in the back of the net for his second career MLS playoff goal. It didn't happen, but that's what I love about Liam Flock. Even though the Union are up by multiple goals, he's still pressing, still trying to make a difference, playing like the Union are down. And every single player on this team, they play that same exact way, with that intensity, with the resilience. That was the big talking point after the game in the locker room with the players, with Jim Curtin, is this team is resilient. And you guys have heard me talk about that in the past on the podcast, where the Union go down 1-0 and they don't let that affect them. The fans, to your guys' credit, you guys kept cheering them on. You guys didn't get down. You guys didn't get sad. You guys kept pushing the players on. And we saw this team be resilient on the night. And speaking of you guys, the fans, I'm going to play 2 clips here from Ali Bedoya and Andre Blake. And this is what they had to say about you guys, the fans.
Yeah, look, I don't know how the atmosphere was in the first half because I'm playing, I'm zoned in, but, I felt that, in the second half, certainly after we scored the first and second goals. But, yeah, like I said, I got off the bench immediately after they scored and just try to get our team to get into it. And then some of the fans got into it, too. And just, they propelled us. They helped to motivate us and give us that confidence again. And, the atmosphere was electric, man. It was awesome to see. Unfortunately, we're not hosting the cup here, but give the fans a big credit for the way for the way we competed here at Subaru Park. I mean, we've made it a fortress. We haven't lost at home all season, so it's amazing.
These fans are the best fans in the world. I love you guys. Philadelphia is all I know. Ever since I got drafted, they took me in, me and my family. I feel at home here, and I owe it all to you guys. I'm happy to be a part of winning the Eastern Conference Championship, and hopefully we can really go to LA and grind it out and find a way to get a result because the fans really deserve it.
And what Andre Blake just said there is something that I was thinking about, where this team, and I know, again, a lot of points that I bring up, I've said in previous podcasts, and maybe you guys are new to the podcast, and maybe this is the first that you guys have heard this for yourself. But Andre Blake talked about how you guys, the fans, welcomed him and his family into your lives, into your team, into your community. And I think that's what the team does so well. Like, do you guys realize how much you mean to these players? Like, you see on social media with players in Europe that say, oh, thank the fans and everything. They hire these PR firms to put out these tweets, these Instagram posts. But that's not what this team is at all. These players have a genuine love for you fans. They love you guys. They have a real strong bond, a real relationship with you guys. And we saw that today at the send-off party at Subaru Park. When you look at all the videos that people posted, they're excited. They're blown away with all the fans that showed up to go send them off. You guys hear the way that they talk about the fans in these interviews. And we don't even have to bring up half the time the atmosphere in the stadium. We don't have to bring up the fans. The players are already doing that themselves. And Jim Curtin as well. And you see it in away trips. After games, the players come over and clap to the fans when they know the fans are in the stadium, where the fans are seated. These players have a strong bond with you guys. And I hope you guys realize that. I hope you guys feel that. Where every single player on this team, we say it all the time, is bought in to the team over me. There's no superstar on this team. The team's a superstar. Mikel Ua did an interview last week with MLS and said that is so rare to get on a team where every single person on the team gets along. He says that doesn't happen, which is true. You see it in sports where different people have cliques, but this whole team gets along. They all like each other. And that's a credit to the environment that Jim Curtin and his coaching staff has made. That's a credit to you guys, the fans, for making these players feel so welcome. Seeing these players out in public where you're saying, hey, how are you doing? Saying, oh, thank you, great game. It doesn't matter. Just making them feel the love. Congratulating them after the game. I remember after the game going through the Tunnel Club into the locker room, and all the fans that are standing outside of the locker room, the players are coming out of the locker room, celebrating with the fans, high-fiving them, taking pictures, pouring the champagne with the fans. They care about you guys so much, and hopefully you guys feel that way too, because these guys aren't just saying it just to say it. They really, really mean it. And so that's why I love this Philadelphia Union team. That's why I love this organization, because they aren't putting on anything just for show. This is genuine love. And like Mikel said a week ago, you don't get that in teams. And so you guys should feel very honored that the players feel this way about you as much as you feel about them. But let's go ahead and talk about my keys to the game. And they were, when I wrote that match preview article, number one, strong 1v1 defending. As I mentioned, New York City scored 2 out of 3 goals in 1v1 type of situation attacking against Montreal. And the Union did a good job, minus the Jose Martinez not tracking Maxi Morales. Like we talked about, the Union did a good job tracking their wingbacks, not allowing their wingbacks to really progress forward. Number 2, I said the Union need to capitalize on crosses because that's where all the Montreal success came against New York City. For me, that's not available because the Union only had 2 out of 8 successful crosses. The Union didn't cross the ball nearly as many times as we saw throughout the regular season. So for me, I can't rank that at all. And then I said Jose Martinez needs to control the midfield. Messes up once, but other than that, played phenomenal. Breaking up plays. We saw it early on in the game. Broke up an attack and then started the counterattack for the Union with his long ball. And so, yeah, minus that one moment, Jose Martinez had a fantastic game. I would say the Union did a good job with my keys to the game. I did not expect the Union to come out and play as many long balls as they did, but it makes sense when you think about it where New York City's playing 3 in the back, and there's going to be plenty of 1v1 opportunities against their center back. So well done for the Union to complete my keys to the game, even though they had no idea what my keys to the game were. But let's go ahead and talk about my 3 stars really quickly. Number 1, you had Andre Blake's save on Alexander Collins. The biggest play of the game, we talked about that. Andre Blake, superstar, saved the game from being 2-0 where the Union would have lost. Number 2, Corey Burke, 1 goal. He had the tackle that actually led to the goal, and we'll break that down here in a second on the goal breakdown. And then Jack Elliott, I thought he was fantastic. The whole team was fantastic, right? The whole team was the star on the night, like they've been throughout the season. But Jack Elliott, 5 interceptions, 1 block shot, 3 out of 4 ground duels won, 5 out of 7 aerial duels won. His reaction time, his reading of the game is so clever. It's so smart. And one of the smartest players on this team, where in the first half, Jack Elliott actually reacts to a ball that should have been cleared by New York City. It wasn't cleared. Jack Elliott blocks the ball and starts the account, keeps New York City pinned down in their own box. And that's just credit to Jack Elliott for always being a couple steps ahead of the play. And so those guys are my 3 stars on the night. And like I said, we'll go ahead and break down all the goals in this game, starting with the first goal, which was a beautiful goal. It starts from a goal kick from Sean Johnson. The ball is going to go to Anton Tennerholm. Fine. Acevedo. They eventually get the ball to Maxi Morales. Maxi Morales is going to go ahead and just drift into space. And so I think when the ball eventually comes to Tennerholm, the Union actually react and play this pretty well, in my opinion, where you have Jack Elliott 1v1 against Santi Rodriguez. Okay, that's good. You have Kai Wagner on his guy. You have Jacob Glesnes on Ibarra. You have nobody going at Bizo. But the issue you have here is Maxi Morales is just going to walk into space. Jack Elliott's going to go ahead and close down Santi Rodriguez. It's too slow to go towards the ball. Like I said, great just layoff from Santi to Maxi Morales. Sees him running on. Jack Mullen knows that this play is coming. He's trying to run on to this, but by the time that Maxi gets to the ball, he's first to the ball ahead of Jack Mullen. And he's able to just keep this ball on the ground, pick the bottom corner, and it's a terrific finish for Maxi Morales. Again, Jose Martinez gets beat from being way too high up trying to win the ball, and he jogs back. It shouldn't have been Jose Martinez jogging back. He should have been on Maxi Morales, and that's a credit to Maxi for not giving up on this play, staying with the play, and it's a terrific finish. And we go ahead to the Union's goal here, where The Union are going to go ahead and have a quick restart after Keaton Parks gets substituted on for New York City. And Jacob Glesnes notices this, that Keaton Parks isn't in position. He's still walking to his spot. And so Jacob Glesnes is going to go ahead and quickly pass this ball to Julian Carranza. Julian Carranza is in behind the defense, and it's a terrific finish in the back of the net for Julian Carranza. And we've talked about it so many times on this podcast where the Union are so clinical on set pieces that they are so good on restarts. And that's exactly how the Union get their first goal. We thought they had their first goal on a header from Daniel Gazdag off of that set piece from Kai Wagner. Daniel Gazdag is ruled for being offsides, which is true, right call? Daniel Gazdag was offsides. But then we get a beautiful heads-up restart from Jacob Glesnes to Julian Carranza. And so we're going to go ahead and take a look right now at this second goal for the Union, where New York City actually have this defended well. Beiser's going to have the ball. He's going to draw two defenders on him. He's going to have Burke to his right, all the way to the right touchline. And he's going to go ahead and just lay this ball off to Corey Burke. And Corey Burke's going to just turn around and see Jack McGlynn wide open here. And so you have Daniel Gazdag pointing, running into a whole bunch of open space, running off the back shoulder of Acevedo. Daniel Gazdag doesn't get the ball there. And then you have Julian Carranza running off the back of Thiago Martins. Beautiful weighted ball pass here from Jack McGlynn. Julian Carranza is going to stop his run, and he's going to just head the ball forward towards Daniel Gazdag, who does not give up on this play. Yes, he did not get the ball first like he wanted into space, but he's still going to run into the space, going to run into the box. And Julian Carranza sees that. A great header ball pass down to Daniel Gazdag. He does a great job to finish this and make it 2-1 for the Union. And then we go down to the third goal for the Union because of Corey Burke. And I love Corey Burke's celebration on here. Goes to the corner flag, salutes. His eyes are all big. And what a guy Corey Burke was. And Corey Burke created this play all because of himself. And so, and the Union, like they've been doing all night long pass up top from Kai Wagner to Corey Burke. Corey Burke's going to go ahead and take a touch, get dispossessed by Hack, but Corey Burke doesn't give up on the play. He tackles the ball back, wins it back, and then he's going to go ahead and just take this ball basically from the halfway line. He has three defenders that he has to go by. He goes by the first defender, great move. And by the time that he does that, he has Liam Flock wide open on the left. He has Daniel Gazdag running into space. Daniel Gazdag's arms are moving, saying, look, I'm wide open. You have Julian Carranza to his right. So it's 4 against 2 here for the Union. And Corey Burke could either pass this ball, which he probably should have done, or he could take it himself. And like Jim Curtin said, Corey Burke was possessed. And so Corey's going to go ahead and take this himself and dribble past Thiago Martins. And Tinnerholm does a good job to collect the loose ball from Corey Burke. Does not clear it good at all. Clears it into Corey Burke. And Corey Burke's able to just put the ball in the back of the net. And you guys know the rest. You guys all go crazy. Union win this game 3-1. And what a night it was for the Union, for you guys in Subaru Park. And real quick, blunder of the week. It is going to go to Philly media. Because number one, we had, I know you guys have already seen this on social media, but if you haven't, NBC, Philly, and they post a graphic that says the Union are going to the MLS World Cup final. And then you had a news station before the game say that this was Philadelphia's first time ever in the playoffs. And so, look, we love it when other big outlets start to cover the Philadelphia Union. But how hard is it for you guys just to do the basic work to know that it's not called the MLS World Cup Final, or researching that this isn't the first time and the Union have been in the playoffs, that the Union have been in the playoffs since 2018? they've made it every single year since 2018. It's not that hard to do that research, but look, we can't complain, right? This is what you guys have wanted. This is what the fans have wanted, is the big media to start paying attention to the Philadelphia Union, and that's exactly what we got. They may have got information a little bit wrong, but at least they're talking about the Union, because they don't need to be talking about the Union with the Phillies in the World Series, with the Eagles still undefeated. But yet they're finding time to talk about the Philadelphia Union. And so that's all I'm going to say. I don't want to get on the Philly media too much, but what a night it was in Subaru Park. And it all comes to an end this Saturday at Bank of California Stadium in LA, when the Philadelphia Union take on the LA Galaxy. And then after that, how are you guys going to survive with no more Philadelphia soccer? I mean, I have the perfect way that you guys can still get your soccer fill, and that is by signing up for the United Soccer's Coaches Convention, because I'm going to be there. Super excited to be a part of Podcast Row at the 2023 United Soccer Coaches Convention in Philadelphia from January 11th to the 15th. The convention is the ultimate event for soccer coaches, administrators, and fans of the beautiful game. Ignite your passion through captivating presentations, on-field demonstrations, exhibits, and networking events for any coach. Whether you are attending alone or bringing the whole coaching staff, there's no better place for soccer coaches to learn, network, and experience the latest trends in soccer education. Visit www.unitedsoccercoachesconvention.org to register. And like I said, if you guys want to get your soccer fill, Philadelphia Soccer Thrill, Phil, come to the convention. I'd love to have you on the podcast, interview you guys, just talk Philadelphia Union, whatever you guys want to talk about. I'll be there. I would love to see some of you guys are at the convention, and there's going to be a lot of big names there. So if you guys want to just be a part of a full soccer weekend, would love to see you guys come on out there. And like I said, the game is in California, so a lot of Union fans are not going to be able to travel. I just got this email as I'm recording the podcast that said, vote on where you want to have a watch party, whether it be Xfinity Live, some of the bars that the Union have had in the past for official watch parties. Subaru Park, they are opening up for a watch party, or Love Park. I think all of you guys are going to vote for Subaru Park. And so if you're not, vote Subaru Park, because I really believe we can fill up Subaru Park to watch the game on the Jumbotron, on the big screen. And I think it's going to be a fantastic day. It's going to be beautiful weather to be outside watching the Philadelphia Union take on LAFC. And if you guys are traveling to LA, this Thursday, I put out on Twitter, I was thinking about doing a Twitter Spaces, but I wasn't sure if I'm really going to do it. A lot of you guys have liked the post. A lot of you guys have commented saying you want to do a Twitter Spaces this Thursday. So we are, in fact, going to be live on Twitter this Thursday at 8:30 p.m. I want to talk to you guys if you're traveling out to LA. I want to get your thoughts on, is this your first time ever traveling? Have you been to the U.S. Open Cups in the past, in the finals in the past? Did you guys think this is how the Philadelphia Union season was going to go? But if you guys aren't traveling, I would love to have you guys join the Twitter Spaces, talk about the Union season, even though it's not over. But I would love to hear from you guys. I would love to make that an episode. I've had a couple people say they want to have multiple podcast episodes this week. And so if you guys will participate, we will be live this Thursday at 8:30 p.m. on Twitter Spaces. And I believe I'm supposed to be with Blake from MLS Gone Wild sometime this week on his podcast to talk about the Philadelphia Union, how they got here this point in the season. So make sure you guys are on the lookout for what Blake's doing with MLS Gone Wild. I'll retweet that, put in the show notes whenever that episode is out, and record it. But if you guys aren't following the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, follow @FreeKickPod. Wherever you get your podcasts at Free Kick. Make sure you check out the website, thefreekick.net. And again, guys, vote Subaru Park for the watch party. Let's all go out there, for all of us fans, all of us media members that aren't traveling to LA. And let's cheer on the boys in blue from Subaru Park this Saturday. Because until then, my name is Todd, and this is the Free Kick Podcast.